Hey, what's going on YouTube? This is BoxingWave. Decent day out in New York, so I figure I'll bust out a couple of videos. It's November, and usually at this point, everyone starts talking about who Floyd is going to fight next. Okay, I'm not gonna keep making videos about Floyd and who he's gonna fight because it's gonna change every week. You know, as soon as someone says something, you know, Devin Alexander recently he said a statement about him not fighting black fighters. Okay, Amir Khan has still been talking about Floyd Mayweather being his next opponent, possibly. Then you got Pacquiao and Algieri fighting, possibly fighting Pacquiao again, which happens every year. And then Algieri possibly fighting Floyd if he beats Pacquiao. Okay, I seen people made a video about a possible Jermaine Taylor fight because we know he has a title at 160 and Floyd has never won a title at 160. All right, so a lot of rumors, a lot of things coming up as far as who's gonna be Floyd's next opponent. So basically, I did like a top 10 list, and I'm gonna start from 10 on who are the most deserving Floyd Mayweather opponents. Okay, this is strictly based on whether or not a fighter is a champion or not at 147 through 140 to 160. I'm gonna start at 140 because a name that pops up all the time at 140 is Danny Garcia. Okay, and then a name that pops up at 160 is Golovkin and Cotto. All right, and now even Jermaine Taylor. So I'm gonna name. So basically, this list is based off those weight classes. It's also based off whether or not, you know, who's champion at these weight classes at 147, at 154, who's the top contenders or who's the mandatories. Okay, who's coming off of wins, who's coming off of losses. This is what the order is based on, and it's also based on what I see the fans want. You know, the names that always come out in debates and what fights are the most possible. Like, who would Floyd likely to fight? Who is Floyd most likely not to fight? Okay, so I did this order, not really like a top 10 what Wave want to see, or who Wave wants to see Floyd fight, because if that was the case, it would be a completely different list. Lara would probably be my number one. Iris Lanley Lara fight is a fight I always wanted to see between, you know, those two, him and Floyd. I'm never gonna see that fight. All right, I didn't even put Iris Lanley Lara on this list, even though I badly want to see that fight. This is the most deserving based on what I see people say, based on what's possible, what's, you know, the most possible, what makes sense. So I put them in order, and I'm going to start from number 10. All right, so number 10, I have Sean Porter. All right, Sean Porter, I know he's coming off of a loss. He just lost the IBF title to Kell Brook. Okay, it was a fight, one of the bigger fights of the year because they both were undefeated. The welterweight division is the most popular division in boxing today, and I put him still down on the list because even though he's coming off a loss, he is still one of the top welterweights. Okay, he only has one loss, and he lost to an undefeated fighter, and it's still possible. A lot of people were talking about it earlier this year before Porter took a loss. All right, so I have him at number 10. I'm setting the tone with him because he still is one of the top welterweights, even though he lost. All right, the next person I have after him at number 9 is Canelo Alvarez. I have him here over Sean Porter because Canelo has won his last 2 fights since he fought Floyd. He wants a rematch with Floyd. He had a win over Angulo. He fought Iris Lanley Lara, a fight that a lot of people thought he wasn't going to win, and he came out the victor in that fight. And he's still a cash cow. He's still one of the few pay-per-view fighters that's in the sport right now. And I feel like if it doesn't, the reason why it wouldn't happen is because Floyd beat him clearly. He clearly, regardless of one judge scoring it a draw, Floyd clearly beat him. So it's at the back of the list because it's really unlikely to happen. But if they were to have that rematch, I'm sure people will entertain it and want to see that rematch. All right, so I had to add it to the list because Canelo still is the most popular fighter at 154. Another thing I want to make just before I continue, I want to make clear that I'm basing this list also on what divisions these fighters are. So if a fighter is at 147, I think they're highly likely to fight Floyd over a fighter at 154. But then again, I have fighters at 154 is a lot more likely to fight Floyd than a fighter at 160 or 140. Okay, I only have one fighter from 140 on this list, I believe. All right, so let me continue. So I have Canelo at number 9. Number 8, I have Gennady Golovkin. I have him over Canelo only because Floyd already fought Canelo and beat him, clearly beat him. All right. The reason why I threw him on the list is because this is a name that's come up. Golovkin has called Floyd out, and Floyd might possibly want a title at 160 before he retires. You know, I doubt it'd be Golovkin because he's the most dangerous. He's a lot bigger. He's a lot stronger than Floyd, and he's just a dangerous fighter. People want to see the fight, but it's not a high demand. It's not a fight that if Floyd needs to take, you know, but there's people that think if Floyd wants to really challenge himself, it would be Golovkin. Golovkin is undefeated. He's a champion at 160, and there is a possibility for the fight. It's highly unlikely, and this is why it's all the way at the number 8 spot. Okay, I know some of you guys want to see that fight, but I doubt this fight will ever happen. Okay, but it's on the list because he deserves a shot. A big fight. You know, all these guys I feel deserve a big fight, and this is why these are all possible opponents. Okay, so moving on to the next one, Demetrius Andrade. I have him at number 10, 8, 9, number 7. All right, Demetrius Andrade is next, undefeated fighter at 154. Floyd holds titles at 154, so there's not a high chance this fight might happen. The reason why the fight probably won't happen is because Demetrius Andrade has a very small fan base. Okay, he's not known, and there's not a high demand for the fight. But Andrade do deserve the fight because he's an undefeated fighter. He's a champion at 154, and if Floyd were to fight him, it'll be a unification match and everything like that. So I would put him over Golovkin and over Canelo because Canelo already fought him. I put him over Golovkin because even though this is also a dangerous fight for Floyd because Andrade is bigger, stronger, and he's a good boxer, and he has power as well, I still would put it over Golovkin fight because it's more possible for the fight to happen, being that this is a 154 fight and Floyd has fought at 154 3 times already. So the fight is possible. They both have titles at 154, and this is why I have them at number 7. Number 6, I have Tim Bradley. Okay, Tim Bradley any other time is a top 2, top 3 fighter opponent for Floyd Mayweather. He's at welterweight. He was a champion. He just lost to Manny Pacquiao. He just took his first loss. The chances the fight will happen is only because of the promotional wars. You know how Tim Bradley's with Bob Arum, him and Floyd don't get along. That's the only reason why this fight has not happened, in my opinion. Okay, undefeated. Bradley has been undefeated his whole career up until this year. Okay, where he lost to Manny Pacquiao, which is a very respectable loss. But Tim Bradley is still top 2, top 3, top 4 welterweights in the division without a doubt. I mean, his resume speaks for itself. There's no debating that Tim Bradley has a better resume than just about all of these guys on this list. All right, but the reason why I have him over Demetrius Andrade still is because Bradley is still more relevant, and Bradley is at 147, the main division that Floyd Mayweather is fighting right now. All right, next fighter I got coming up at number 5 is Danny Garcia. Danny Garcia's name has been thrown around with Floyd ever since he beat Matisse last year on that same card of the Canelo-Floyd Mayweather fight. Danny Garcia is still undefeated. He's a champion at 140. He's the lineal champion at 140. Even though he's been fighting a few pounds overweight, he's still the champion at 140. He has a buzz now. He's still undefeated. And you know, the fight definitely makes sense. Okay, it's top 5. I have him at number 5. The fight makes sense. This is a fighter that there is a high chance that Floyd really might fight this coming May. Okay, we getting into the fights that might possibly happen, might really happen. Okay, Danny Garcia is up there. Okay, and his name, he has a buzz, and he's an Al Heyman fighter, and it really might happen. It makes sense. It makes a lot more sense than Tim Bradley, even though Tim Bradley is probably the better fighter, has a better resume, but he's over at top rank. So that's why I put Danny Garcia over Tim Bradley. And plus, Danny Garcia is planning on moving up to 147 anyway. Okay, the fighter that I have at number 4, Miguel Cotto. All right, I think people are sleeping on the possibility of this fight happening, okay? Especially because the negotiations between Miguel Cotto and Canelo are not really working out so well right now, right? The reason why I said Miguel Cotto, high chance, very high chance this fight could happen, because people loved the first fight. Miguel Cotto gave Floyd Mayweather a great fight. And now Miguel Cotto has a title at 160, and unlike Golovkin, Floyd already beat him before. And Floyd would see this is the best opportunity for him to get sales, get pay-per-view buys, plus get a shot at a title at 160, and then he'll be a 6th division. I believe he's a 5 or 6 division title holder right now, Floyd. If he were to win this fight, he will have a title at 160, and plus he's on the way to retirement. This will be another big achievement for him. So this fight is very, very possible. I think people are looking so much into the Cotto-Canelo fight and forgetting that, you know what, this fight can actually happen, and people would pay to see this fight. You know, Cotto is the top 3 pay-per-view stars in boxing, and this fight is very possible to happen, okay? A lot more possible than Danny Garcia, in my opinion, all right? Next, at number 3, I have Keith Thurman. Keith Thurman is fighting at 147. He is an Al Haymon fighter. He is the mandatory for the WBA, I believe it's for the WBA title at 147, okay? He is the mandatory for Floyd. So the reason why I put this even over Miguel Cotto is because what if in some event where Keith Thurman wins this fight against Bundu, they demand, order Floyd Mayweather to fight him or give up the titles? It can actually happen. Unlikely to happen, because I think Floyd has influence in everything. Well, even when it comes to the sanctioning bodies and everything, I don't think they'll make him fight his mandatory, but you never know. He brings so much money in, I don't think it will happen, but at the same time, it could happen. And if Keith Thurman wins his next fight, you know, they might force Floyd to do it, and he might take Keith Thurman as his next fight. You never know, right? But he definitely deserves it. He's young, he's undefeated, and he actually has, you know, he actually is the mandatory, and he's at 147 with Floyd, okay? It's not like Floyd's moving up to 154 or 160 to fight a guy. He's fighting a guy that's right in his weight division. So I have him at number 3. And then number 2, I have Kell Brook. Kell Brook is now the IBF title holder at 147. He deserves a spot over Keith Thurman because he actually has a title, and it would be a unification match, just like Floyd has been doing, like he did against Marcus Maidana in the first fight. That was a unification match. This will be a unification match, and if he were to beat Kell Brook, he will now hold 3 titles. So I think this fight is deserving, okay? Not possible, but deserving, because Kell Brook is a title holder. He's at 147. And he's undefeated. There's no excuses why the fight shouldn't happen, okay? He deserves a fight over a lot of these other guys, and it makes sense because he's fighting in Floyd's division, all right? The number 1, everybody knows who number 1 is. Manny Pacquiao. He holds the title. They are rivals. They should have fought 5 years ago already, 5-6 years ago. And, you know, Manny deserves to fight. I mean, at this point, these guys deserve to fight each other. You know, give what the fans want. I know a lot of people are just casuals. It doesn't really matter. The Manny Pacquiao fight should happen. All right. I even stopped making videos about it. Not until they actually schedule the fight and there's a date for these 2 to fight. I will never make another video about those 2. But he deserves to fight. All right. He's number 1. He's going to be number 1 until they fight. All right. Unless he loses again, I'm sure, you know, that'll be another setback, but the fight should happen. And I know everybody thinks it might happen now because Floyd said he has a surprise for us in May, but Pacquiao has a tough fight coming up, all right? So that's it. That's my top 10. I have Manny Pacquiao number 1, and I didn't put Khan on the list. I didn't put Khan or I didn't put Devin Alexander because these guys are fighting and they gotta fight, and one of those gotta. I don't think either one of them deserve to be on the list because they gotta fight each other. And that's it. So you guys leave comments. You want to make a separate video if you want to watch TPC.